Tyler, you ready for some Beach Boys?
I think so.
Some good vibrations?
Good vibrations.
I can see why they didn't have you sing on the song.
I'm not a Beach Boy out there.
Yeah, your harmonies aren't that great.
No.
So we're going to do the Beach Boys and their amazing song, Good Vibrations. Let me give you a little history on the Beach Boys. American rock and roll band formed in Hawthorne, California in 1961. Originally known as the Pendletons. You knew that.
The Olympic Pendletons.
What's kind of the most special thing about the Beach Boys is they're one of the first American groups that actually played, wrote, and sang all their own songs. That just wasn't a common thing to do at the time, and they come along and did it with the surf music, really hit the youth of the time and really hit some popularity. They're also one of the few American bands that really continued success through the British invasion, which the British invasion killed a lot of American groups.
Oh, yeah. You had to be able to speak with an English accent.
Sounded more like the Terminator.
I can't speak with an English accent.
So let me give you the original lineup of the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson on bass and some vocals, Dennis Wilson on drums and some vocals, Carl Wilson, lead guitar and some vocals. Of course, Carl and Dennis are brothers. You've got Mike Love, who is a cousin. He's on vocals and saxophone, and friend Al Jardine, rhythm guitar.
And he's not part of the family.
No. They were originally managed by their dad, Murray Wilson. They were signed by Capitol Records in 1962. The band's really well known for their surf-style music. It basically describes the culture of Southern California at the time. You know, surfing, cars, love, penned the California sound. Another thing the band, the Beach Boys, is really well known for is their vocal harmonies. That's something that they probably outdo almost every other band out there, with the exception of a couple maybe, but they're definitely well known for that. The band has sold over 100 million records worldwide, which there's not too many bands that have done that. All in all, they've released 29 studio albums, 11 live albums, and 56 compilation albums. I just kind of laugh at that, for how many compilation albums some of these bands release. As far as studio albums are concerned, 15 of their studio albums reached the top 40. 10 of them reached the top 10. You had Surf's Up and Summer's Day both reached number 2. Their greatest hits, Endless Summer, reached number 1 in 1974. As far as singles are concerned, they released 75 different singles. 53 of those singles reached the top 100, with 37 songs reaching the top 40. That's the most of any American band ever.
I believe it. That's pretty high numbers.
Yeah, and they had 14 of those singles reach the top 10. They had 4 number 1 singles. I Get Around was their first number 1 single in 1964. Help Me Rhonda, Good Vibrations, and then clear into the 80s, Kokomo in 1988.
Oh, welcome back.
They ranked as number 12 on the Rolling Stone list as best artists of all time. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. Yeah, they're still touring today, and although Brian Wilson, and Al Jardine, is still part of the band officially, they do not tour with the band.
Okay.
Sometimes special occasions, TV appearances and things, you'll see them show up. And they're definitely one of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful bands of all time. There's no doubt in that whatsoever. So, do you want to get to the song review?
Let's do that.
And now it's time for the song review.
Thank you, announcer monster.
So, of course, like I stated earlier, we're going to do today the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations. Now, this song was released as a standalone single on October 10th of 1966. It actually had Let's Go Away for a While as the B-side. The music on this song, completely orchestrated by Brian Wilson, and the lyrics are contributed by Mike Love. So, Carl Wilson's actually the one singing the lead vocals on the song, with Brian Wilson and the other Beach Boys on backing vocals, providing all those harmonies we well know from the Beach Boys. And they use basically the same session musicians that were used on Pet Sounds, and we kind of talked about that back on our Pet Sounds episode if you want to go listen to that. Brian Wilson had them working endless hours to finish this song, and I'd list the session musicians, but it is a list that's impossible. It'd take an hour just to list all the people that played on this.
You can really hear it when you listen to this song because there's just like a slew, an army of people that are working on this.
Yeah, I mean, even though this was recorded or meant to be recorded for the Pet Sounds album, it just simply wasn't done, so it didn't get put on it. And to me, the Pet Sounds album is one of the better albums of all time, and putting this song on that would have pushed it even further, if that's possible. It was recorded in 6 different studios around Hollywood and produced by Brian Wilson. The song was actually an immediate success. It hit number 1 in the US and the UK, only number 2 in Canada. So I don't know what's wrong with those guys up there, but
They're Canadian. Must be the French Canadians.
so the single Good Vibrations is certified platinum in the US with over 1 million in sales, and it's certified platinum in the UK with over 600,000 in sales. That's as a single. Rolling Stone, which you know what I think of that, but they've ranked this song as high as number 6 on their top 500 songs of all time. And I almost don't disagree with them on that. I think this is
That's pretty good for it, I think. Yeah.
I think this is a very influential song, a very groundbreaking song in a lot of ways. I mean, this song has got a cornucopia of sounds to it. And I think I said this on the Pet Sounds album review we did, but I shouldn't like Pet Sounds and this kind of music because I really like guitar-driven music. And this really isn't that, but the way it's put
Is
together,
there any guitar in this?
there's something of everything in this, but
Yeah.
it's so layered.
It's not driven by guitar.
no,
right?
it's definitely not driven by guitar. There's no big guitar solos or anything like that. So I shouldn't really like this music, but I do. It's kind of strange I feel that way, but I love this song. So,
I really am curious. I want to know what the Rolling Stones' number 1 song is.
well, keep in mind they release a new list all the time, so they change with the times, which I could understand new songs maybe hitting that, but how can it change? How can the best song of all time change?
It obviously must be reserved for Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball.
Well, I think what happens with Rolling Stone is they do a poll to the users and listeners and things like that, and that's just what happens. And I think, unfortunately, when you get songs like Stairway to Heaven or something that hits number 1 for so many years, I think people get sick of it, and so then they start voting for a different song.
Yeah, the ear burn.
Yeah. So this was actually the Beach Boys' last number 1 hit song, clear until 1988 when Kokomo come out. And you remember Kokomo being a big hit.
Yeah, it was. That's 22 years?
Yeah, crazy. This song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame of 1994. And one thing that's kind of cool about this song, it uses, a lot of people think it's a theremin, but it's actually an electro-theremin to produce the sounds of a theremin. And that's what creates the high-pitched sound you hear in the song. And you said something to me when we talked about that you thought it was somebody's.
I always thought it was a person's voice.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
It's way high.
Yeah.
But still, I thought it was like, I mean, I've heard songs that have vocalization that's way up there. They get somebody that's like a soprano that's really hitting the high. No, it's an instrument. Okay.
When Brian Wilson first started constructing this song, he wanted to call the song Good Vibes. And that came from early on in his life. His mother would always tell him about vibrations and watch out for the vibrations. But this song is basically about picking up vibrations from a girl and about an acid trip or something like that, maybe both. I mean, you've talked to Mike Love about it a few times. You know, as the years go by, they changed their idea of what it was about.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and Brian created all this music while on acid. He was tripping, so I don't know if that's where you get the cornucopia sounds, but I think he did a good job with it.
He really did. But I gotta say, for something that's written on LSD, this doesn't sound like auditory LSD, like White Rabbit. You know, that's White Rabbit sounds like an acid trip.
It makes me wonder if he wasn't so into drugs at the time, how it would have turned out. Was that because of his passion and keep bringing these session musicians in to put one more layer, one more track down, or do whatever? I don't. It's really hard to say.
This is an auditory kaleidoscope.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. And it's kind of sad that this didn't make it onto Pet Sounds because, like I said earlier, that would have pushed Pet Sounds
Oh, yeah.
amazingly. Brian Wilson just really thought it needed more work. And I think that's at this time period with him and even with Pet Sounds, he was, because this was supposed to be part of the album Smile, this big masterpiece that really never came out. One other kind of fun little note about this song is at the time, it was the most expensive song ever recorded. It cost them about $50,000 in 1966 to record this song. And I assume that's renting the studios and renting the session musicians and bringing them back hundreds of times. But this was an expensive song to record. So the fact that it hit number 1 is probably a damn good thing.
How many houses could you buy in 1966 California for $50,000?
I'm sure at least a couple.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Brian Wilson worked on this song literally obsessively while the other Beach Boys were out touring as a band. So you can tell the kind of work he's put into this. And maybe it's a little harder to tell for people now because you can create so many of these sounds and things just out of a computer or whatever. But at the time, this was a serious step forward.
I gotta say, this song sounds so simple, and yet listen to it and like you'll hear all the different layers and all the different, you can hear that $50,000 just churning and churning away. It's crazy how much has been put into this song that I never heard before on the radio. But with this playing and this listening here in your basement, it came through. I'm like, whoa, there's tons in this. Yeah, he worked his butt off on this song.
Yeah, the vinyl sounds good, doesn't it?
It sure does.
So what are your thoughts on Good Vibrations?
This song, I didn't like this song when I've heard it before. The song grew on me this time listening. And I guess it's because I sat down and listened to it and I started to pick up all these things. It starts off with like almost this chirping sound by a keyboard. I don't think that chirping sound is that theremin. I think it's a keyboard.
I believe it's a keyboard as well.
Yeah, and it's just real soft and simple opening, you know, singing about this girl. And then it takes a huge dive into a lower Good Vibrations chorus. I'm picking up Good Vibrations, that sort of thing. This is a wild ride. Closing your eyes and listening to how much is in there. There's so much packed into this. So many different instruments, so many different vocals. And it sounds like such a simple song on the surface. But like I said, it's not the... You can tell that it was written on acid, but it's not the acid trip like Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit was. This is it's a smooth ride, and like I said, it sounds more like an audio kaleidoscope more than an acid trip. It's fun. It's a good song, real smooth. They've got the classic Beach Boys high pitch harmonizing, and real played out nicely. This song, it grew on me today. Today it grew on me. What did you think about this one?
Good Vibrations is one of my favorite songs. I wouldn't say I'm the hugest Beach Boys fan. I get a kick out of their early songs, you know, just to listen to or whatever, their surf music. Pet Sounds I really like, and I really like this song. And past that, you know, I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan. I mean, I like their music, but I don't own all their albums or anything like that. So this song really is the cornucopia of sounds, like I said. And this song is a perfect example of how many, it's almost like 5 or 6 different songs pieced together the way he's done it. And how many instruments you see Brian Wilson has brought in there is crazy, but it almost doesn't, it sounds that way, but at the same time, it's really clean.
Yeah.
You know, it starts off where Carl's singing and he's got the keyboard going on. And the bass line in it is amazing. I love the bass throughout it. Then it goes into the chorus. Then it slows back down again. So you've got the first part, the chorus, and then the third part where he says, I don't know where, but she sends me there. And it goes to that part of the song.
Is that when the percussion...
Yeah.
It gets real simple. This percussion, I took a note on this, that you have like just a single drum that keeps getting hit, and then a tambourine gets rattled, and it's just so simple and basic. And then the cymbal, for as much as it is in this song and as complex as this song is, there's also that simplicity to it that's so amazing. It's a work of art.
Well, yeah, and that's the third part. And then right after that, it goes to the fourth part where it says, gotta keep. He starts singing the gotta keep, and you kind of hear a church organ in it, which is kind of an interesting part. Then it goes back into the chorus, then goes into the na-na-na-na-nas, into the fifth part. And then it has that strange just explosion of sound to the ending. You know, being a 3.5 minute song, they pack a lot into this. It's amazing the work he put into this song. And this song's been covered hundreds of times. It's been used on so many movies, TV shows, commercials that we couldn't even name them all. It's a great song. I've always loved it. That's why I decided that today we're going to do Good Vibrations, because it really doesn't have an album to hit on really, and it's a good single that I've always loved. Do you want to get to the song rating?
I think so. Let's rate it.
Song rating.
So our rating system, it goes 0 to 10. 0, we hate it. 10, we love it. 5, smack dab in the middle. This song, for a song that I had so much ear burn on it before, I hadn't really sat down and actively listened to this song before this time. And I'm ashamed that I haven't, because this, I really enjoyed this song a lot more than I thought I would. And so I'm giving it a 7. It's still not my favorite song. It gets me a bit of ear burn, but listening to it actively and catching all of the little intricacies in this, I see it as a total work of art, though it's not like strumming that same chord within me, I can appreciate it for the masterpiece that it is. Well done, Brian Wilson. You earned a 7. This song even deserves more than that, but I can't give it more. Where do you put this one, Justin?
Well, like I stated earlier, I really shouldn't like the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations because it doesn't carry, to me, the kind of music that I really enjoy. But for some reason, it's just the full sound that does it and the harmonies and everything. It's going to be no surprise because I've been glowing over this song the whole time. I think Pet Sounds is a 10 out of 10 album without a doubt. Has amazing songs on that as well. And
that's where it deserves to be.
That's where it should have been, yeah. I rate this song a 10 out of 10, without a doubt. It's one of my favorite songs. And, of course, I've got hundreds of favorite songs as well, so keep that in mind. But
yeah.
So that's the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. Let us know what you think. ClassicVinylPodcast@gmail.com. And until we see you next time, see you later.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.